This week on Forever Spinning, we step into the ever-changing world of Lou Reed as we check out his monumental glam rock LP, Transformer.
Perfect.
For those of you who don't know already, Lou Reed was the lead singer of the famous New York group The Velvet Underground. But before he took New York by storm, he spent most of his early days growing up in Freeport, Long Island. He later attended Syracuse University, where he studied journalism, creative writing, and film. He was also an ROTC platoon leader, that is, until he held an unloaded gun to his superior's head and was subsequently discharged. It was around this time in Lou's life that he began suffering from crippling depression and horrible anxiety attacks. His family decided the best course of action would be to send him to electroshock therapy, as they were worried that he might kill himself. Although, Lou suspects that he was sent there because his father had realized that Lou was gay. After surviving college, Lou moved back to New York City, where he began working as an in-house songwriter. It was there that he met John Cale, who would later join him in helping to create the Velvet Underground. After a fairly successful career with the Velvet Underground, Lou just kinda got up and left the band. He decided it was time for him to work as a solo artist, despite his band being at the peak of its popularity. His self-titled debut album came out in 1972, but didn't really make a splash. It wasn't until Lou met up with David Bowie that his music would take this glam rock approach. Together, these two, along with Mick Ronson, would help to craft the rebirth of Lou Reed's music. This record would become Transformer, an album that is heavily influenced by the sounds that David Bowie was doing at the time, mixed with the dark and cynical lyricism that made Lou famous in the first place. What we end up getting is nothing short of magnificent, as Lou navigates his way through his constantly moving mind as he tries to find some solace. The best possible quote to sum this record up comes from Lou Reed in 1972, when Lou said that he doesn't have a personality of his own. As you will shortly see, this statement does indeed hold up, and it also gives some clarity into this record's meaning. Transformer was released on November 8th, 1972 on RCA Records. The first single to be released alongside of Transformer was Walk on the Wild Side. Walk on the Wild Side would end up being Lou's highest charting single, peaking at number 16 on the US Billboard Hot 100. The various characters that he speaks about on this track are real people that Lou knew. For instance, Holly Woodlawn was born a male with the name of Geraldo, but later changed his sex to become a woman. She became a prostitute to support herself and later moved to New York City, where she would work with Andy Warhol on some of his late 60s films. Each of the stories that Lou tells are real. The only thing not true to form on this track is when Lou sings "All the Colored Girls Sings Doo-Doo-Doo" because, well, the women singing this song were white. One little last note about this song that I personally find really interesting is the fact that Herbie Flowers, the bassist on this track, was paid by the instrument. So, being the smart man that he is, he ended up playing the bass line twice for this song and layered them on top of each other on the final cut, so he could get paid double. Perfect Day is one of the stranger cuts off this mostly glam rock LP. It tells the story of a day spent doing fun and romantic activities, only to end up evoking rage in the storyteller. This anger stems from the disdain that Lou has for this picturesque heterosexual lifestyle that he would constantly conflict with. This track balances the bliss of perfection as well as the despair for realizing that all of this perfection is nothing more than a figment of his imagination. We can credit the instrumental on this track to Mick Ronson, who elegantly crafts this mournful yet energetic arrangement. Coming in as the third single for Transformer, Satellite of Love is Lou Reed's most obvious attempt at trying to make a song that has long-term radio playability. This track was originally written and demoed for the Velvet Underground's Loaded, but never made the record's proper release. Musically, it's a joyful ascent for Lou, despite his vocals sounding unenthused and monotone. This track can be compared to David Bowie's breakout single Space Oddity as a nearly perfect parallel. Bowie's influence is everywhere on this track, as he even does some of the backing vocals for the song. It is certainly not Lou's most riveting work that he's ever done, but it shows off the versatility of an artist who, quote-unquote, doesn't have a personality of his own. The final single, Vicious, is the album's opening track. This track is violent to say the least, with lyrics of, "Hey, why don't you swallow razor blades?" and "I step on your hands and mangle your feet." I personally view this track as Lou's attempt of trying to fight off this masculinity while still trying to be a badass. For instance, he opens the track with, "Vicious, I hit you with a flower," which really does not sound like much of a violent thing at all because I don't know about you, but flowers don't hurt. He then goes on in the chorus to sing about how when he sees this person walking down the street, he simply wants to get up and run away. This could very well just be a defense mechanism for his repressed sexual feelings and his self-hatred for being gay. Now, this is all speculation. Although, we do know for sure that it was Andy Warhol who suggested that Lou make this track in the first place. Lou told Rolling Stone in 1989 that it was indeed Warhol who came up with this idea for the song when he said, quote, "Why don't you make a song called Vicious?" When Lou asked what he meant by vicious, Warhol responded, "Oh, you know, like I hit you with a flower." So this could very well just be a huge farce. I mean, this is Lou Reed we're talking about after all. Personally, this is one of my favorite records of all time. Lou proves that he can change from writing these cathartic dirges such as Heroin with the Velvet Underground to making these glam rock, pop rock, sensational songs like Satellite of Love. Not only is he versatile on this album, but he's honest. Tracks like Makeup and Wagon Wheel are sarcastic yet honest representations of the LGBTQ community in New York City at the time. But the biggest factor into this record really has nothing to do with Lou, and that'll be because the production on this is just so fantastic. Bowie and Ronson craft some of the best glam rock tracks known to man for a guy who would rather be doing speed and going to underground sex clubs. The combination of all these weird and chaotic ideas form a record free of the constraints that Lou usually hides behind. This is brutally honest music from a guy who can go through an entire interview without giving a straight answer. Truly one of the best records from one of rock's most intriguing and influential figureheads. So, whether you've never heard this record before, or if it's a personal favorite of yours, Lou Reed's Transformer will always be forever spinning. Thanks for watching.